This is Parsley's customers. I think they have a few, maybe a couple hundred customers who have their widget installed on their websites. And you can see they're reporting the same thing. Look, Google suddenly last year started sending more traffic than Facebook for the first time in a long time. This got amplified and repeated so that, what do the headlines say? Oh, search overtakes social, meaning social was as big or nearly as big. Bunk. It is bunk data. And it's so misleading that I actually called out the author of this piece on Twitter, who replied and said, oh yeah, you're right. But then the article stayed up the same way. What? If you know you're wrong, fix it, man. Fix it. All right. Thankfully, there are some sources of trustworthy data on this front. I like a few places, and some of them have actually started performing well in Google. For some reason, the media, the tech media in particular, and the marketing world is very bad at picking them up. I can't explain why, I don't know what that is. But one of these sources that I really like is called JumpShot. And I don't have a formal relationship with them other than I tell them, hey, I really like your data. I want to share it because I think it's high quality, and then they send me lots of information in Excel spreadsheets that I then turn into pretty charts and graphs and talk about. So JumpShot basically has a panel of browsers. So if you on my laptop down here, or maybe one of the desktops over there on your mobile phone, you might find an application which anonymizes and sends browser clicks. Basically, each URL that the browser visits goes to JumpShot. And they have many millions, I think it's in the 3 to 5 million browser range in the United States. I think they have about 1 million, maybe a little less here in Canada, a few million in Europe. So they're tracking many millions of users, which means they get a statistically significant sample size. So we can actually trust the data behind them. Now, I pointed out here, the panel is biased. They don't have iOS devices, and they're not capturing any voice search, because voices don't actually trigger a browser. Sorry, they collect voice search, they don't collect voice answers, because a voice answer doesn't trigger, a browser doesn't. But regardless of that, this data is still better than anything else we've seen out there. And you're the first people that I'm sharing this with, because as Jean-Francois knows from our time at the bar last night, I received an email yesterday from JumpShot with data that is in this presentation today. So quick turnaround. Yeah, thank you to Sean and Savaya from JumpShot for getting me that. So this is from last May, just about a year ago, May 2017. This is where searches were happening. So do you notice something real different here? This is, if you add Google search, Google image search, and YouTube and Google Maps, that's almost 90% of all searches that take place on Google's properties. Okay, here's a crazy secret. Because of how US politics works, Google themselves does not want anyone to say, nor will they say, that they have 90% market share. Why? Monopoly, exactly, because the United States Congress might then say, gosh, Google, 90% sounds like a monopoly. But they'd probably be like, Google, pay us more money to run for office if you don't want us to say that you're a monopoly, which Google probably would. But despite the way that our government works, this data is probably reflects what you see in your web analytics much more accurately. And if someone says to you, hey, what's going on, you can show them this. Let me show you February. So that's the last full month that they have collected and sent to me as of yesterday. That's right here. So you can see that Google core search, so Google altogether is basically about the same size. YouTube is a little bigger, Google Images a little smaller, core Google search a tiny bit smaller. A lot of these are fairly flat over the last few years. Amazon is growing a bit, Bing barely keeping up, Pinterest is interesting. That one is newly growing in terms of search market share. I think they were under 0.2%, which we didn't count